One of the most important things you can do is make sure that you pick problems that actually make sense to solve with Code Interpreter. So not every problem is the right problem to work with. Now, I want to give you sort of three basic things that you can use to help guide you in problem selection. Now, these are not the only three things that you might want to use and take into account, but they're three rough, guidelines that will help you out in deciding, is the problem appropriate? Now, the very first one is we have to understand that there's always the potential that there's going to be an error. And therefore, we always have to be checking our answers in some way, shape, or form. A human's going to have to look at it, or we have to have some way of knowing whether it's right or not if we're going to use it and take ownership of the output. So one of the first simple things that we can do is we can make sure we pick problems where it's easy to check if the answer is right or not. And checking if the answer is right or not is a lot less expensive and time consuming than producing an answer. So what is an example of this? Well, in this example that I gave earlier of solving Wordle problems. So Wordle is a word game. You have to choose words that are 5 letters long that meet certain constraints. You'll have certain letters that are allowed in certain positions, certain letters that aren't allowed in certain positions. It's a great example of the case where it's easy to find out if a solution is right or wrong because you just plug the solution in and you check the constraints. So for example, if we have this as our pattern, we have to have a word that has E as the second letter, T as the last letter, and it can't include any of these letters, R, Y, U, I, etc., then we can quickly go and check if a solution is correct or not. So when it says baguette is a correct solution, we can check that by simply going up here and seeing, does it fit the pattern? Yes, it fits that pattern. Does it include any of these letters over here? No, therefore it's a correct solution. But coming up with baguette is much more expensive, so you have to go and search through a whole bunch of words in the dictionary, check each one to see if it matches the pattern. And so it's easy to check if an answer is correct or not, but it takes a lot more work to go and find individual answers. You can think of this like in a crossword puzzle. It might be easy to go and check if the words are potentially right or not, but it's much more difficult to go and try to come up with all the individual answers that fit together. So you want it to be easy to check, or you want the errors not to be a big deal, meaning if there's an error, it isn't the end of the world, right? It's not a big problem for you. Now, the next thing that's really helpful is you'd like to pick problems where a partial solution is better than no solution. So if you're getting closer and closer to a perfect solution, as long as you're making progress, it's a helpful problem to work on. So what is an example of this? Well, when I went and uploaded a zip file full of PDFs with no organization to them, and I said, go and propose a new organization to them, and it comes back and it proposes an organization, and the organization is partial, but it's not perfect because it's got this others category over here. It's already done some work for me that helps me, right? The solution doesn't have to be perfect on the first try. And then I went and I refined it and iterated with it, and it basically improved on its solution. And its solution is still not perfect, but it's better than I was before when I had total disorganization over these files. There was no organization whatsoever. So a partial solution, meaning a partial organization of these files into categories, is better than I started with. So it's helping me in some way. So anytime we have something that we can work on incrementally, and even having a partial result is better than no result, that's a great type of problem to work on. Another one that's really helpful is anytime we can support human reasoning. If we're not supporting human reasoning, we're going to take away people's thought. We're going to make them less creative, less likely to do the right thing. So if you're using it to cheat on an exam, stop right now, you're taking away from yourself and your own creativity and thought. You're teaching yourself not to think, not to solve problems. On the other hand, if you're using it in a way that helps you be more creative, then that's a great type of use case or problem. So, for example, when I was going through and I was analyzing all the people that had registered for my workshop, I had this question where they could enter in free text, whatever they wanted about how they were using ChatGPT, Bard, all these tools at the time. And then I asked it to go and automatically analyze how people were using it and group it together. Now, the reason isn't because I wanted to take away my own ability to go and reason about how different people might be using it or to look at it. No, the reason is because I wanted to think through different ways of categorizing people. And the real goal of this was to help me think better about who my audience was going to be in that workshop and think about what I needed to tell each one of them based on different ways they were using it. So I had one categorization, and then I went and said, give me 3 more possible groupings that describe how people are using it. And it went and proposed other potential groupings based on engagement level, specific task, usage complexity. And so the end goal of these was to help me think better. It was to give me additional information so then I could go and think about how to deal with my audience. It wasn't to think for me and think of what should it tell my audience for me? What should it do? No, the goal was for it to give me information that could help me think and improve my own ideas. Similarly, when I had it go and generate potential questions about my presentation, it wasn't so that I could stop thinking about my presentation or have it produce the presentation for me. It was so that I could think better about what might I want to address, what might questions be for people. So all of these types of uses where we're automating things, we're giving ourselves more time for thought, we're going and helping answer questions or seeing other perspectives, we're giving ourselves new insights or visualizations of data that we need in order to reason ourselves. Those are really important uses. So one, make sure that it's easy to check the solution, or that checking the solution, whether or not it's correct or not, takes a lot less time and effort than actually producing the solution. 2, is it something where a partial solution is better than no solution, and where you can iterate on the partial solution in order to make it better and better. And if you stop at some point and it's not perfect, you've still done a lot of great work and it's helped you. And 3rd, make sure that you've got a use case that actually is supporting your human creativity and reasoning. That's going to make you think more over time. If you're starting to do things with the tool that are making it so you can get lazy and not think and not be creative, you should drop that use case and focus on other ones. Because the whole point of these tools, to really, really take advantage of them, really be useful with them, is you want to use them in ways that help you have more time to think, help you be more creative, help you solve problems better, not do less thinking. So if you're doing less thinking with the way that the problem you're approaching and the way you're approaching that problem, then it's the wrong way to approach that problem, or it's the wrong problem to be solving with the tool.